Welcome back to another episode of the Briefcase of the Barn, episode 49, a series of the Furiously Curious show where we talk about business, life, Christianity, and more. Let's get into it.
Oh, man. I feel like I'm whacked. You said you're grumpy?
Yeah, I am just in pain, and I'm sick of it.
Okay.
It's been 6 weeks now.
Okay. I offered to run my heel into your...
You did get that mic closer to you.
Yeah, is it not loud enough? Do you think we're actually recording?
We for sure are recording, so.
Okay. I did share the podcast today, which I normally don't share it. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I never listened to it, obviously.
Growth.
Well, no, just because it was the old guys, right?
I got a lot of comments. I got four comments this morning about the thumbnail.
Okay, the only thing you never have made the clip with me being a little kid talking, right?
No, they were working on it and they got close to it and then something didn't work.
What needs to be changed? Can it not just be shared how it is? I feel like I could share it how it is. I just need to know which podcast episode it was from and I could share it.
I can figure that out. If you want to share that clip,
it's just kind of, I only think it's funny because I'm a Beekman, right? And Beekmans always think they're funny. They think all their own jokes are funny.
Well, I got some feedback on today's episode that came out.
I got a lot of feedback.
Gary, I quote, Gary, this is by I Like Math, a comment on YouTube.
So, I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt, right?
100%. Something Chinese. Gary, you're a great guy and I love the optimism, but let's be honest here. Canada is more likely to have a majority of the provinces split and separate than to lay off more federal jobs. Don't tell me politicians care so much about Canada that they humbled enough to lose their job.
Oh, man.
Because last week you were saying...
Yeah, what did I say last? I can't remember what I said 6 minutes ago, let alone last week.
Well, at least you're a great guy.
Yeah, that was thought. Encouraging.
You can be full of shit, but at least you're a great guy.
Yeah, whatever that means. What does great guy mean? So, interesting comment. We had this question. This is one of our... We have our 200 questions that we answer as a family or whatever every meal. The question was, what makes someone a good person? Was the question. And do you think you're a good person?
Okay.
All my children thought they were good people.
Okay.
No, that's not true. Some had pretty sound theology. It's very interesting, eh? Like some of them are like, they knew, like some of them know exactly what the Bible school answer is, right?
This is actually interesting. So in week, I think 6 of my 10-week coaching program, I have a journal prompt called My Beliefs. And it's just like, I believe money is, I believe X, Y, Z. I believe my purpose is, and people have to fill that in and
what they believe.
And if I'm coaching someone that's not from a Dutch Reformed background, usually you get kind of close to what they believe. But if I'm coaching someone from more Dutch Reformed background, it's usually or more often than not, there's a lot of the answers are the right answer. Yeah. You're supposed to
like
give.
worm theology or what?
Or just like the right proper answer. Like my purpose is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. But that's just the right answer, but it's not actually
even what they think, what they believe, what they actually believe themselves.
Exactly, yeah. Which is very different.
But it all comes out through coaching, I guess, at some point, what they really believe based on what they're doing in their life, their actions. Yeah.
How you're living, that's what you believe.
Yeah. You put stevia in this, and like I don't know what stevia is, but
it's like healthy sugar.
Actually, or is it just aspartame?
No.
Okay.
It's actually like a natural.
I don't like it. Well, whatever. Beggars can't be choosers, right?
Right.
Appreciate whatever you give me. Thank you.
Anything you want to talk about?
Well, I just found the feedback fascinating.
What feedback did you get this morning?
Well, I got encouraging feedback on the weekend, but it was this morning was all in relation to the reserves being sold to developers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Multiple people brought it up with me, some in conversation.
Okay.
Some just said, well, you just said goodbye to your political career. I'll still vote for you for mayor in 45, but most people won't. And then someone else, I don't know if you've seen it, but somebody sent us a message with a great person.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the solution, right? It's just to be like more dialogue, learn from people.
Someone sent us a message and you just gave no details. Someone sent us a message.
Well, they sent us a message in relation to the First Nations because I think I wrapped up the whole segment with saying, "Hey, we should have somebody a little more qualified to comment in this." And then So the person they mentioned, I bought the book actually. Okay.
Which they recommended on there.
I would just see if you can get her on the podcast. Be great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I want to mention the book here. See if I can pull it up. Maybe you can blabber while I pull this up here.
Well, the only other thing that's fresh on my mind is that my wife said she only listens to the podcast, so she knows what's going on in my life.
That's old news.
Yeah, well, I didn't listen the first time she said it, so it hurt this time.
Well, good thing you have a short-term memory because you're going to forget real soon too.
That's true. Yeah, we don't know if that's because I smoked a lot of pot when I was younger, because I was a Beekman. Had my last elders meeting last night too, so that was interesting.
Oh yeah, you quit. Why'd you quit?
I didn't quit. Who said I quit?
I assume you stepped down.
No, it's not how it works. We have 6-year terms.
You can keep
lifetime sentences there, right?
You can keep going. Guys go for longer than 6 years.
They do. It was the group conscience that spoke, so
they said
it's pretty special.
They felt like
I'd been there long enough. Yeah,
they're like 6 years is too long.
Too long.
Okay, the book is The New Trail of Tears by Naomi Schaefer Riley, and how Washington is destroying American Indians. A much needed revelation of heartbreaking conditions on the American Indian reservations. But she starts the book with being on a reservation in Kamloops, in BC here. So I haven't read it, but the book was recommended and have her on the podcast. So I think I'll do that.
Okay.
Because I'm curious. I'm definitely curious about it.
And I just think we have so many First Nations people in our community, right? And I think there is a lot of sensitivity around there. And I hope I wasn't insensitive in our last podcast. I just feel like, hey, if you can't even talk about something, you know for sure something's wrong if you can't talk about it.
Yes.
Bingo. We know for sure we have issues if we can't talk about something,
yes.
right? So now, granted,
which most people have in their lives.
They do. Yeah.
I was talking to someone this morning, and I was like, "Do you think this person has things they've never told anybody?" Yep.
Yeah. You can often tell. I can tell just by meeting people. I can be like, okay, there's a lot of secrets bottled up inside this person. This is very problematic. Right?
And not even self-aware.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is even like, I was thinking about it this week. I was like thinking myself 4 years ago. I was definitely way less self-aware. But there's ignorance.
Do you feel like you're self-aware now?
Yeah.
Okay.
But ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, and you're a very happy person.
Well, to some degree, I was like, man, I wish I just was unaware. And of course, that's not the answer because that caused a lot of other problems.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Okay. Anyways, it was just interesting to back to the elder thing. It was just interesting to. Well, it felt like I would almost died or something, right? But just the idea of because it's been such a formative part of my my journey, right? And I've always been even basically.
How do you reflect on it? You're 6 years as an elder.
Always the same. Always. I wrote about it in the elders update. I always feel like it's just and every Christian should probably have this, but it happened really through that process of being an elder through COVID at church and just like being ground down. That's how I feel it was. I feel it was way more about my character development, and obviously there's a long ways to go, but there was just it was really special to be part of an amazing group of guys where it was like, yeah, you have to be unified. Like you just have a horrible church if the elders weren't unified, right? And I guess.
Did it ever get to your head?
No.
That happens. I mean, that like in the Reformed churches, it says they're only supposed to have, I think, 2 terms, and they're supposed to step down for the reason of, power gets people's heads.
I wouldn't even know if that's the only. I don't think that's the only reason you would step down. I think that stepping down is just super. I think it would be. You wouldn't be wise to think that, hey, there's not other men in this congregation that are fit to lead, and I think that very soon you would have that idea of, hey, these are the people that need to be there because they're there. No, like God would call. I guess similar to my journey where it's like I've never felt fit to be there, not when I started and not when I ended, but I know that my character had changed in a positive way from the day that I stepped into the role. And I think that even just seeing the challenges of church is just a messy place, but it's going to be the people, everybody would be pretending.
A healthy church should be a messy place.
Yeah, but you need good leadership, right? And I think that by example. And I feel like for me, I think that the fear could be that very quickly you can become too legalistic. Like I think even, and I'm embarrassed to admit that, but I can become, and most people would say you're not legalistic, you're a heathen, but I feel that way. It's like, boy.
Like on what?
On anything. I just think
away. What's an example of something you would get legalistic
about? Not even legalistic, but just so judgmental of someone else's sin where it's man, be careful throwing stones. And you're allowed to call a brother or sister out on their sin. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like we should be able to have accountability, but do it gently. Don't think you're better than. And I mean, just if somebody really understood the gospel, I guess I feel like, boy, you should, no matter where you're on your spiritual walk, whether you're you should still be very gracious, knowing who we are in ourselves and where we've come from. And I think for me, even, and I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I feel like there's times where it's just like, oh, you get frustrated, or hey, isn't that not obvious? No, many people have seen me over the years and been very frustrated and been like, dude, you should be smarter than this.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was part of my journey. And I think even just the idea of like in business, or at least in most of my life, it's very much, hey, he who pays the piper calls the tune. Well, that's not how it is in church leadership. It's like, no, you have, obviously you're trying to follow the will of the Lord. Everybody's wrestling with it in their own heart.
Yeah.
You discuss it. And even if you in our church, we don't vote, which is different than a lot of churches. Like everything in our church is done by consensus, right? And we don't even vote people in. So like I was talking to the guy the other day where I think they're picking a bunch of new elders. What do you mean
you don't vote? Like as in like...
Well, we don't bring it before the congregation and everybody say this guy or that guy. And I mean, I agree with that model, but that's very counter to...
But the congregation can recommend people, right?
They can, yeah. So they would put forward names, but then the rest of the process is like, I don't want to say casting lots type process, but it's very much a like discernment, praying interviews, filling out stuff, kind of like it's the sifting out of, hey, is God calling these people to leaders?
And are recommended get put up.
They do one more time where, so like, if anybody had any concerns, which would be very similar to...
Because you had a whole bunch of people get call on you, right? When you got put up the first time, they're like, who you guys put up? This guy dragged goats around or something.
Oh, man. They didn't bring up that, but there was enough other stuff without the goat situation.
What was the goat situation again?
It's embarrassing. Oh, that's from when I was like 19 years old. Do we have to talk about it? It was 25 years ago.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe someone doesn't know.
The goat situation. I can already picture this reel. I can picture, and I mean, your editor's from the Philippines, so they have a lot of goat pictures. You never know what'll show up there in the reel. Oh dear.
Okay.
The goat was dead.
Oh,
no harm was done to the life.
It long enough.
No,
dead
it
the whole
dead.
time.
It was dead from the beginning.
Actually, that reminded me one time I was with my buddy.
Who drags dead animals around?
And
people.
We stole a sheep from somebody. And
are you sure you want to share this story?
Maybe not.
Okay,
we'll move on to infertility.
That was a weird segue.
I know. Okay, this is a comment we got. I'd really like to hear Gary's story about his experience with infertility. Any insights you can share for those going through similar struggles? When and how do you decide to pursue adoption? How do you handle hurtful comments from friends and family about having children while dealing with your infertility? Okay, so I'll start with this. You get married. Did you have any idea before you got married that you were infertile?
No, but that's because I was really dumb.
Why? What do you mean?
No, I didn't know.
Okay. No. But you should feel like you should have known? Genuine question. I don't know.
I know. I'm not in a great headspace today. I don't feel like I'm safe to record. I said to somebody earlier today, I'm like, man, one of the blessings of me recording as a general rule, I'm pretty reserved, right? And when I'm not reserved, we're in deep trouble.
Well, that's fine.
That's a fair question. No, I didn't do the right things before I was married. So I just think, hey, you know what? Like,
what does that mean? No, I'm serious. Like, what do you mean you didn't do the right things? You were married. No, you hurt your...
No, I was in relationships before. Yeah. Right. And I had premarital sex. So it's like, well, I'm just like, okay, this is oversharing now. I feel like I'm oversharing. But anyways, I think that very soon after we were married, like probably less than 6 months, right? We did not...
We're getting pregnant.
Yeah. And, first year newly married. So whatever, not concerned about it. And I mean, this is part of like the hurt probably in our marriage and my shortcomings as a husband, but like, it wasn't as important to me. And I was laser focused on building a business and doing a lot of other things. And obviously it was relevant and we talked about it. But it was weighing way more on
when did you realize, hey, there might be something wrong?
These are questions you got to ask Marie, but.
Well, you don't know?
No, I do not remember the timeline. I know when we started the adoption process, and I know that journey from kind of like,
well, you must be going to the doctor and be like, hey, we're not getting pregnant.
Yeah, we were, and we went to specialists and all kinds of stuff and did all kinds of testing. Yeah, and I mean, it's a bit of a mix, but it was for sure me. Like,
how do you figure that out? If it was for sure you, like, how do you know that?
Just by testing.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're dancing around this issue, man.
Well, it's just like, how crass do you want to be on a podcast, right?
It's not crass. It's a genuine question. Like, people are dealing with this, and I
People
don't know.
only want to listen to so much talk about Gary Seaman, right? Like, they just do not want to get out the microscope and go there.
Let's go back to the question. The question was, I'd like to hear Gary's
We
story
might have to cut
about
this
his
whole. We might have to cut
experience.
this whole thing. Some people are literally like, "Okay, I can't finish my lunch now." I says, "Pardon."
I'd like to hear
Gary's
Gary's story about his experience with infertility. Any insights you can share with those going through similar struggles? When and how do you decide to pursue adoption? Okay, so when I interact with someone that's married for a couple of years, whatever,
and they can't have kids, and you
and-
instantly assume
wait,
they don't
wait.
want it.
Wait, well,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
assuming you don't even know. First of all, first of all, like, what questions do you ask?
They might have had a child and lost a child.
Yeah, you don't know. So
You
how
don't
do you
know.
how do you ask those questions? And if you're in that spot, how do you deal with it? So you obviously realize that you made some mistakes and that you were laser focused on your business and that you weren't, like, maybe as
Caring as a husband.
but like,
Yeah. And that has been the general trend. If I talk to guys, and I do talk to guys that are in the same situation, right? And sometimes it's their fault, like, because of them. And I was going to say fault. That's really dumb. But, sometimes
you couldn't
because
help
of
it,
them.
right?
No. I don't know. Maybe it's because I like sprayed a lot of chemicals on trees when I was a kid and never wore a mask. Like, who knows, right?
Okay, whatever.
But I think yeah, just nuked it, right? But the idea of I says, pardon, run a bad run here. The where I was going with that was my experience is very different than Marie's, right? And I think that
We're not asking about Marie's. We're asking
no,
about
I know.
Marie will come on. We'll ask her.
She will, and she will be very good at articulating this in a way less awkward way and a really caring way that will be really helpful for people. But my experience was just that people are simple and ignorant and not by choice as a general rule. And so, like, my thing was always comforting Marie after people would say stupid stuff, right? And just, relax, or, oh, have you tried this? Or, because people don't like the uncomfortableness.
Mhm.
And so my advice to people is, if you ask the question, you get in that spot where it's like, oh, this is awkward, always just acknowledge it and say, hey, that sucks. Or, hey, I'm sorry to hear that. That's really hard. And then, like, just be okay with that awkwardness of, like, hey, it's really hard, and there's no solution. You don't need to give a solution. There is none.
Yeah.
Definitely not from a random stranger that's
Want to fix everything.
getting into some weird situation about why you haven't had children, or, why, and I think that
Okay, so
I look at it very spiritually, personally. Like, I look at it as people are always trying to control their lives.
Yeah.
People when I hear people saying, oh, we plan on having this many kids, I'm just like, okay, like, stop the presses. Like, the good Lord might just decide that you have one.
Okay, so you think you should just have 12 because if you get 12, no protection?
Oh, we're not going there, but way more about. I feel like I need Kleenex, Kyle. I'm really struggling here.
You're fine.
You need.
You can go grab that Kleenex if you want.
Yeah, I need to.
Okay, go grab it.
Oh,
I can't get up, so.
Sciatic nerve. Oh.
Yeah. We're keeping this in here too, so get back here.
Oh man, we can't have it blow. I blow my nose like a real beatman, really loud. Should I step out?
No.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry. Okay. So you're married for a while. You realize you can't
Somebody
have
did
kids.
say we're raw and uncut, and this is what they meant. Just brutal.
No, to put that mic back in your face.
Sorry. Okay.
So you're married for a while.
Yeah, can't have kids.
Realize you can't have kids. It's 100%. You were told 100%.
Basically, it'd be a miracle. Basically,
Okay.
That's what the doctor said.
And then how soon after are you guys talking about adoption?
First, doing fertility treatments.
Oh,
Started
okay.
that journey, kind of like.
Okay.
And I'm there again. It's been like a decade.
That's like IVF stuff.
We didn't go that far. We did. I think it's called IUI, just basically like similar to like with a cow, like artificial insemination. That idea.
Okay.
And that just reminds me of one time back then, like I sell cows, right, for a living. Like, I sell cows. I sell the odd bull too, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I sold the bull, Marie would always like throw a bomb at me, right? Oh, I hope he's a better breeder than you are.
Is Brie pretty funny?
Marie's really funny.
Okay,
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of her jokes. So.
Mostly at my expense. It's okay. No, she's very witty.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, we have lots of good laughs together. And she can laugh at herself too, which is awesome.
So first you did the treatment.
Yeah.
And then
we're kind of on that journey. Extremely emotionally taxing.
for you or her?
Oh, when it's emotionally taxing for your wife, it's emotionally taxing for you too. But no, it was for sure for her.
Okay.
Just the hormones and stuff was pretty quite an upheaval. And then of course like you're not pregnant and
Okay.
and I don't there again I don't
How
remember
long was
exactly.
that? 2 years?
No, didn't even go on that long, or I don't feel like it did. Like the
Yeah.
whole process did,
Yeah.
but the fertility treatments didn't. And I think that there again, it's back to like the spiritual side of it. And I don't want to hyper spiritualize it because I think it's a conscience issue. Like I would put this totally in the conscience camp, where some people would, they'd be like, this is black and white. This is wrong.
Just like homeschooling or not homeschooling.
Well, it's definitely more serious than homeschooling or non
But
homeschooling.
people put that in camps of like black and white too. People put everything in black and white
Not
camps.
that far, but no, this is definitely. And actually, there's a good friend of ours, and she doesn't. I don't know if she listens to the podcast, but she's talked about it, and she's done a lot of research on it, and just a lot of thinking about it. And I think there's probably Christians probably need to weigh into this space more of like, okay, how far do you go? When does life start? Is this okay? And there again,
No, the IVF thing, yeah.
Yeah, and with IVF, for me, it was just like, okay, when are you playing God? At what point is it like, okay, this is tumultuous. This is hard on us. I always had like.
And where were you at in your own spiritual journey at this point?
Oh, probably not in great shape in retrospect.
Because what year did you get married?
2010, and this was like in 2012, 2013.
Okay, because
like
you were
3 years
like
later.
not doing good stuff until at least 2016, right? That's when you did Freedom Session the first time.
Yeah, but I mean, there again, I mean, in retrospect, it's a spiritual journey, right?
Mhm.
Sanctification's a process, and we were tiny ways in at that point. I think that for me, it was just like, okay, I'm laser focused on work. I had already fostered as a young man, like already literally like 5 years, 6, 7 years earlier, single, fostered, ran group homes, kind of had a heart for, hey, like
episode 1, of the Briefcase in the Barn, if you want to listen to that story.
Okay.
With Gary sharing that.
Okay. Yeah. And probably like, yeah, I could talk a lot about that because I feel like that's a space where a lot of us don't go into because we just don't know it.
Yeah.
And our lives are comfortable. But I feel like we're called as Christians kind of to get in that to some degree. And obviously looks different for everybody. So I was kind of pushing that, and Marie was very against adoption, very against it at first. Super. And mostly probably just processing. And there again, I probably wasn't gracious enough, but didn't push it too much. And at one point she was like, I'll never adopt. And so that's been beautiful, right? And I've told her that, and she's aware of that. Like her heart from that spot of like in 2013 of like, hey, I'll never, 12 of never adopting to obviously in 2025, it's only 12, 13 years later, having 6 kids in our home with a lot of challenges and special needs, I think is really special. And it's not for everybody, but it's probably for way more people than want to admit it. That's how I view it. And I think even fostering.
I don't know how you compare this to other kids, but you have awesome kids. Like I love hanging out with them, and they're a hoot. They're awesome.
But I think when you like, even now, it's like you have kids that question you as a parent. They question whether they're your child. They talk about going to live.
Yeah.
Those are things where a lot of people are like, oh, I can't. No, like they're just kids. They're just sorting out what they process. And whether it's your biological child or your adoptive child or whatever the case may be, kids just need to sort their stuff out. And we need to be gracious and allow them to vent. And if they feel like they can do that with their parents, that would be healthy, right? So
do you remember when you decided that you're going to go forward and pursue adoption, or was it fostering first?
It could happen. No, it was adoption first, and we adopted privately, and it was very quick. Like we had very unique experiences.
But how did you go from, okay, we're going to adopt? Like you said, Marie wasn't open to it at all.
We went and met a private agency in North Vancouver, had a meeting at their office, kind of like, hey, what are the options? Willing
to do that from
Yeah, and there again, Marie's Marie's very gracious. I mean, it was
did you guys go for counseling and talk about it, or
no counseling,
just
push. No, I don't think you'd have to. I don't want to speak for her. I feel like I'm totally going to be saying the wrong things here, but
okay.
I mean, infertility is. I guess what I would say is, and there again, this might even be, people may disagree with this, but I feel like, hey, God would choose that some people cannot have kids. And what does that mean? Does that mean that they're supposed to have no children in their home and they're just supposed to care for other people's kids? Does that mean they're supposed to adopt? Like, that's just a personal journey, right? I mean, if you're praying about it, you have peace with the decision you make, and you're trusting in God in that process. And I think we have to do that in all of our lives. It's just kids seems like a big deal. I look at it like...
Well, I think it comes especially from the idea of like, this life is not about us. Like, we're called to serve others.
Yeah.
Right? And lay down our life for others and give. And usually, especially in North American culture, I think in the church as well, it's about our comfort and what we want and what's great for us, which is contrary to everything.
Even now, I feel like you listen to you listen to people like I listen to people even in my stage of life in the early 40s or whatever, and they're like talking about empty nest stage one day and this, and like, we don't have necessarily that aspiration, right? We have children that, they talk about living with us forever, and they're serious or whatever, just the idea of like, hey, these kids may need some help. And so I think that you're right. I look at, parenting probably similar to marriage. It's not necessarily meant to make you happy. It's meant to make you holy. And obviously, there's many joys and things in the struggles along the way. And
what about people that are interested in like adopting or fostering, but it's a deflection of their own problems? Like I'm just going to go focus on helping other people, but like they're not ready.
Yeah, and it'll be a horrible experience. Like there's nothing worse. Adopting, thinking you are saving somebody is very, very problematic. And we were literally somewhere publicly the other day, ran into a couple, and they're in the process of trying to adopt a child. They're pretty transparent about it. And you could tell, and like by everything the person was saying to me, that they fully think they have a savior complex. Like, hey, we are rescuing this. No, like think of it from the child's perspective, right? Not biologically connected, like, hey, where is my mom? Who is my mom? Who is my dad? In our home, there's multiple birth dads. We don't know who they are.
Yeah.
That's heavy. That's sad. And like, yeah, are our kids well loved? Yeah, they are. But like, they're going to have to work through their stuff, and they deserve to be acknowledged. And they don't need to think that, oh, they have it so good because they're in our home. Like it's not always great. Right. And I think that people just need to realize that, hey, we're called, whether it would be, this is how I view it, whether it's your biological child, like in your case, or in our case, adopted children, we're called to, teach our children about the Lord, care for them as well as we can in that moment, help set them up with a foundation of truth and to be, great members of our society. And what happens after that, we've talked about that before on this podcast, but I think that idea of wearing the weight, and obviously parenting matters, and obviously, people can really hurt their children by doing damaging things. But this idea of, hey, they're my kids, like, I don't like the terms like that kind of.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's ours. Everything we have is a
yeah.
gift.
So I don't know. Infertility is messy.
You call it your money?
Yeah, it's definitely my money.
Okay, just not your kids.
Just not my kids. That's funny. That was the funniest part of the clip from last week. No, I'm totally joking. But that was as funny as last week. It's the inheritance one. Waiting for my inheritance. Like I say, I don't ever watch
did
this
your mom
podcast.
Say that? Did your mom get a text?
No, she always listens to it on Saturday. So I'll get a call Saturday night saying you're cut out of the will. That's fine.
Okay.
Nor for everyone else.
Moving on. Listener question. In a podcast, you and Gary mentioned your assurance. What do you mean by that? Growing up CRC, which is either Canadian Reformed or Christian Reformed.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that term. You said something along the lines of your assurance wavered or changed depending on how close you were in your relationship to God. To me, this is foreign. When I became a Christian, personally for myself, my assurance of going to heaven or being united with Christ never wavered or changed. Did I have moments of doubt, questioning, and moments of anger or lack of intimacy with God? Of course. But my assurance of being united with him never changed. Expand on it.
Yeah, I guess my experience was, and probably still is a bit, that some people, or how I felt I was taught, was that, I don't want to say you could never be sure you're really saved, because it probably wasn't that strong, although that teaching is prevalent. I've heard some that come out of somebody's mouth in the last year. So that's really dangerous, because that wouldn't even be biblical. But my experience was just the idea of like, it was way more hate. You could never be, you couldn't do anything yourself, obviously, which in theory there again, like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, obviously we're not saving ourselves.
Matt Keane is twitching right now.
He is twitching. Son of a beater. But yeah, so my experience was just this idea of like, hey, you can't do anything. I had a very fatalistic view. And it's fascinating because man's responsibility was taught, right? Like it was. So I think
in the FRC.
Well, no, I'm just saying even at school, like there was a lot of sound teaching. It's just this idea of like, if something's talked about too much, my mom has always said it best. It was about emphasis, right? So like everybody's getting taught essentially as a general rule, the same stuff, really. But it's just like, hey, what are you hyper focused on, right? And so I think that's where even like we've talked about how the Bible's preached at a church. It's like, it's super important that you would just go through like books of the Bible from front to back, not skipping a verse. Because pretty soon, you're butchering scripture if you're just cherry picking the text that you feel are as a pastor, right? And so my experience of kind of like the assurance was just like, there was a lot of focus on, holiness and these things, right? Which obviously are
Yeah, so
are
I think it comes from
important.
the idea, like when James says,
Faith without works is
faith
dead.
without works is dead.
Yeah.
And so people would say, if your life has a lot of sin in it, how can you be sure that you've actually believed in Jesus and come to faith or got converted in whatever way you want to say it? And so the reason I think people struggle with lack of assurance, at least in the background that we come from, is because they see sin in their lives.
And they just think, how can I ever be doing
how can I
this
be a Christian
sin?
if I'm still dealing with this stuff? And that's especially in my own experience, skyrockets when you have secrets in your life you're not telling anybody
feel like
about.
a fraud.
And you feel like a fraud, and then then you really
Well, you are
struggle
a
with
fraud,
insurance.
really. Fair enough. Yeah.
And the interesting is, you're not actually struggling with if God is willing to save you. You're struggling with if you actually want God, right? Because the Bible is really clear that He wants to save us. The issue is like, do we actually want Him more than we want sin?
Even that, like, there's I just, not God is not willing that anyone should perish or something. There's that verse like that. I don't remember that ever being taught when I was a kid. Like, and there again, I'm sure it was. Like, I'm sure it was. Like, I'm sure it wasn't, hey, we're skipping over that verse. But that posture of like God really wanting to save people was not my perception, right? And even the idea of like young people, like why would you not become a Christian when you're young? Why would you not, if God's prompting you as a young person? But it was just this idea of like almost you couldn't be like, and there again, it was probably my own heart and my own idea of, hey, I just want to live how I want to live. For sure it was for a season. And then once I became a Christian, it was just the idea of like, hey, we're starting to read through the Bible and reading, and I mean, Paul's a great example. I'm reading right now in Acts. You just read Paul's story. Like, Paul was obviously a rowdy, doing a lot of really horrible things, instantly became saved. And then, even everybody around there, all the Jews are like, what is going on here? Like, it was wild. But he talks about, he talks about still sinning. He talks about being the least of these. And I think that to me, that's a comfort. It's a comfort to me. Guys like David in the Bible are a comfort to me. I'm also reading, it's
I think the key thing is those guys repented, right? Like, they turned and repented from their sins and confessed it.
Yeah. But I think this comes back to where we were talking earlier. This feels like the worst podcast I've ever recorded. Now I'm having flashbacks to some of my earlier conversations, but I'm going back to the early podcast where I talked about legalism, or just the idea of being judgmental. Like, even now, if I look at my heart, it's like, okay, well, if you're critical of everyone else, like, you're also critical of yourself.
Yes.
If you are ripping other people, like, you have that same condemnation of yourself. Yes. And it's like, it's not, there's no scoreboard, right? Like, God's not keeping score of our life. Like, no. There is reward for good deeds. There's all these things, like, that's biblical, but like, it's not a like, oh, now you're saved, now you're not. And I think that was almost the mentality. Mm-hmm. And that is really dangerous. And of course, ultimately it's sinful.
Or an absolute of like, hey, if you go to a Canucks game, means you're not saved. Or if you like go shopping,
well, or any sin, like if if someone had an affair, it's like, hey, like,
yeah,
David had an affair and then whacked the guy, like, and he was so like, there again, that's not the barometer, but it's just that. I believe that story.
I got drunk naked. Like, I was pretty drunk, not that drunk. Like, that's
really drunk. No, but just like, hey, we are sinful people, and I think, boy, do we make horrible examples of Christians when we start to be that pretentious of, hey, we're doing all the right things. The world's watching, and they know Christians screw up, and so, boy, can we just show where our hope is in, rather than how good of deeds we're doing. And
yes,
that whole assurance thing it's really damaging. And I mean, it's just the idea of like, and this is. I was going to say,
reminds me of a quote. I don't know if it was John Owen.
Yeah,
he said on his deathbed, "Take all my good works and all my bad works, or all my sins, and put them on the same pile, but just give me Christ." Yeah. Like, that's ultimately our hope is in. It's not in like how good I'm doing or how bad I've been. Like, our hope is in what Jesus did.
I was talking yesterday to somebody about something similar to this, just about the struggle we have and kind of how we act as Christians. And I think that because every journey we're on is a road, and there's a ditch on either side. And I feel like, even, if you look at where we come from, and maybe you're a little too far one way, and then you're going to be really, the pendulum swings, right? And so I think that the healthy thing is to always be challenging your own thinking, listening to things that, like,
be in the word, for sure.
Be in the word, but even just the idea of, hey, we're all listening to podcasts and sermons, and pick different stuff. Like, don't just pick one. Hey, these are the guys I like. Like, if that's your thought process, I mean, you may be picking very great teachers, but like, They're the guys you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you trust your own judgment?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
and I think
I remember someone saying to me one time, it's like, I don't listen to John Piper because then I have to check if the sermon is true or not. I'm like, you don't have to do that in your own church. Like, you don't have to check, like, you're with your own pastor and compare it with the Bible. Like, that's what we should be doing. We should always be checking if it's true or not.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It's fascinating how.
Because you have the other side of it, which is, I think it's CRC or Canadian Reformed or Christian Reformed, where they assume that they're saved as soon as they're baptized, and then or something along those lines. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong. Someone can leave a comment.
No, I'm staying out of that.
And then basically you can just do whatever you want.
I'm staying out of that. Oh man,
you got too many customers there. You don't want to piss off or what?
No, I'm not worried about the customers, but just I think you really want to be, unless you've lived in a community and fully understand how the thought process is, and even there's going to be a broad spectrum, so you're going to really want to be careful just saying, hey,
well, that's the other side, right? Like on Sunday they talked a little bit about the importance of dads talking to their own kids at home, and modeling things themselves. If you grew up in a home, in any Dutch Reformed church or any church, whatever, and your dad doesn't talk about faith at all, or your mom and your how you grew up, and it's not something that's talked about in the home, and your only interaction with it is from your teacher at a Christian school or your church, and then you're going to just hyper focus on a few little things you've learned, and that's where your theology is going to be based off of, versus someone in the same church whose parents are super involved and teaching them, and their view is going to be different again. And so it is really important. You can't really paint a whole church with one brush, because everyone's experience is so different. Like, my experience is very different with my dad being the pastor than the next person, right? Yeah. Like, I could ask my dad a question anytime. There was always pastors and people over and stuff like that. And so you just have a different angle again.
Yeah, I guess the reason I think the assurance thing is important, and the reason it's I think it's really sad, and even in my own life, it's been that, where it's like, man, do you ever lose your witness when you feel like you're not qualified to even profess your own faith, right? And I think that a lot of people do struggle with that, and I think that it's of primary importance. And
I think that happens the most when people aren't being open. Like, the Bible says, for a reason, confess your sins one to another. Like, if you're confessing your sins one to another and consistently doing that, and then your assurance goes up. But if you're hiding stuff, that's when you start not talking to people, right?
And you're not going to share the gospel with someone. That's what's fascinating about, I guess, the culture I grew up in, where it was just the idea of like, man, this stuff was talked about so much, but never at a personal level.
Yes.
It's kind of connected to what you're saying about even the thing at home, and I had Christian parents, but like, it's this idea of so many people, they are like hammered with the importance of doctrine and doing all these things, yet the parent could never even say, hey, this is where I'm at with God, or this is my walk with, because they didn't have one, or they just couldn't talk about it because it was so foreign, scared, right? So like, not necessarily even just out of not having any relationship, but just, hey, this is private, and this is like that's just not biblical. That's the whole Bible is the opposite of that. It reminds me,
I remember the first time I heard a prayer of someone saying, I love you, to God in a prayer. And I was like, whoa, how can you say that? But if you're a Christian, you do, right? You love God and say, I love you. Like, it's ultimately God's after our affections. He's not after our behaviors. He's after our heart.
Our behaviors naturally should
reflect our
heart. Yeah.
Thankfully. Yeah. Okay. Well,
we're not going to answer the next question.
Okay.
Not that one. You can go to another question. We don't need to shut her down. We're just not answering the next. I know what the next question is.
We're way over time.
Well, there is no overtime. So we're good.
We're way over time.
No, they're like,
we're at 40 minutes.
I had somebody call me this morning that had listened to the podcast, and they're like, they were just like, oh man, you just have to shut her down. Like, there's no time restraints, guys. You own the podcast. You can go on as long as you want.
I have a coaching call.
I had something else I wanted to talk about.
Okay. I'll do one more.
Oh, I was going to play the clip too. We'll play it next time.
Because you'll post the time, but didn't follow through.
Sorry, I said I'll post the time. Yeah, we had a Sunday sermon on drinking.
Getting back to me on texts.
Yeah, a day later, 2 days later.
Depends when it's convenient for Gary.
Yeah, Gary's not a slave to his phone. Not a slave to other people's whims.
He's a slave to his own goals.
His own.
Okay. We'll end with this. Reading. I went last night to child dedication. So Ollie is getting dedicated this Sunday.
Okay.
And so it's very similar to what a infant Baptist church would do, in that you go to the front and you make a vow to try to raise your child in the fear of the Lord, and the church also chooses to come along with doing that. But there's no baptism, of course. But they brought up some different Bible passages, and they brought up Psalm 127, verse 2 and 3, and it says, it is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to his loved ones. Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. And just coming from the culture we grew up in, to hear it is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night. Like, what are we doing? Like, God says, God gives rest to his loved ones. He says, like I got you. You don't need to be like trying to gather and
just
more,
on the
more,
seventh
more,
day.
More.
Just on the seventh day. Kyle,
and then he talks about children as being a gift. And often we don't treat children as a gift at all, right? We're just often in the culture, it's just like they're a pain in the butt.
They're a lot of work.
They're a lot of work, but they are the most beautiful thing. And I think it was just a beautiful encouragement. I think for people to realize, hey, like your kids, that's your greatest gift, that one of the greatest gifts you've been given. And just working more for what? Like, for what? A few more square feet? Like, you know,
chasing,
a Ford Lightning, like whatever.
Second Ford Lightning.
So anyway, I thought that was the Bible speaks for itself. But anyways, thanks for listening, guys. See you next week. If you have any questions or comments, send them in. Love answering them and reading them. And check also, if you haven't watched it yet, last week Saturday I posted my episode with Trey Ardis, F-18 pilot, Special Forces Marine, who's going to come on as a coach for Furiously Curious Coaching. And so check that out. And if you're interested with working with him or me, feel free to reach out. Cheers.
Have a great week.